actually bought some NFTs this morning. There's a new article out there about Google AI turning the BAYC project into derivatives. I'm big into AI. I love researching that stuff. Feels kind of historical to me. And the art is super dope. Super dope. Like one I would be happy to hang in my house one day. I could.
I was checking them out, and they remind me of like the AI Moonbirds I mentioned, kind of the same similar style and look to them. Definitely dope. I like to take maybe a Gift's take on this because he's been involved with creating projects and stuff. What do you feel the whole AI movement that now a lot of people have access to these programs and kind of seems way easier, kind of puts them together, given some outputs and different keywords or whatever have you? Like, what you as someone who's been the lead of a project and putting art together, what are your thoughts on that? Do you see kind of that being a shift to just a ton of like last minute put together, just kind of slapped on projects, or what are you thinking?
It's definitely going to supercharge the derivative art movement, because every time there's a big project, there's going to be 50 AI projects that follow it up. That's part of the space. It's cool to see which ones sort of pop and get traction and which ones don't. I do think like there's a larger philosophical question that is really interesting, right? So it's like, to your point, Tig, there's the like practical implications of empowering artists with new tools to create, technology driven projects, NFT projects at a scale and a speed that's unprecedented and never before existed. And so, I love the empowerment aspect of it. I love that artists around the world have access to tools to, just let their creativity fly and flourish and do new things that nobody could have ever predicted. Like, that's amazing. And, beyond what AI is doing, there's also a lot of new tools like Bueno.art, which you may or may not have heard of. It's Pablo Stanley, the whole Robotos team. They've been developing this suite of tools for NFT creators that makes, the whole custom pipeline of, how do you do really advanced, sophisticated NFT, rarity distributions and refinements and exceptions. Like, how do you have a custom pipeline for an NFT project for like really, really cheap, that's super sophisticated? How do you do a smart contract that you can customize a bunch of different ways for really cheap without hiring devs for tens of thousands of dollars or more? Like, all of these tools have massive implications for artists and empowering artists, which I think is cool. And then away from the practical side, there's the philosophical question of like, okay, what does this mean for humanity, society writ large, and artists specifically? And the question about like giving, AI that is basically taking a bunch of other artists' work without paying them anything and repurposing that into a tool that is making people money. Like, is that good? Is it good to be handing all of our creative, basically handing creativity more and more over to the robots instead of like taking it out of the hands of the humans? Like, that's fascinating too. Like, we could get into that and like a whole show, but I don't know. I'm just here for the ride and like to see it.
So yeah, a lot of great points made there, Gif. While you're talking there, can you pull up my screen so that we can kind of look at these Artsy monkeys specifically? Because to me, these look probably the best out of any of the ape derivatives that I'd actually probably put this up in my house. There's a lot of other great points too, other than just like the aesthetic of the art itself. Like Gif was mentioning, taking the YBAYC, like for example, they could have just done their own original work with AI, but I do feel like there's a element where it's going to attract initially that ape community that probably has a little bit more disposable cash, where they're able to say, hey, I want to get my ape, which I think is in and of itself a play. Like, if I wasn't, if I had all the time in the day, I would be trying to find like Makai's apes. I would be trying to find Franklin's apes. And like, if this turns into a thing, they'll probably want to have what seems to be dope aesthetic art, attached to some of their apes. So
are these the actual prices?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bought 3 of them this morning. I read this this article and then was like, oh, yep, I gotta do that. They're spiking up.
Yeah, I think I think Q has a point where I remember when like the AI and the Moonbirds came out, which now they're called Nightbirds. A lot of people were trying to snipe like the more rares because they looked really cool. And I remember being in the Discord and everyone wanted to kind of just match up their Moonbird to whatever token they had or whatever. So I guess you could kind of try to snipe more of the more popular, well-known apes as well. Asmodai brings a good point into the chat where he says that he's kind of tired of seeing these derivatives and probably wants to see this new tech kind of used to create original work. Something different, something that's not correlated or attached to already an existing IP, maybe another project. I think that's something that where this Q, I feel like this that's a good point where like where are the original works being made using this new technology. That's something I would like to see. I know Brian. I share a Discord with Brian Brinkman, and he mentioned he uses AI as well on his own to create certain pieces and kind of tweak and create original pieces from just a creative idea he might have or anything like that. But he also feels like you can't just go in there, throw something together and call it NFT and put it out and sell it. It's got to be some type of level of original idea behind it, and not just just a few words put together and then having the machine do most of the work. I feel like I tend to agree with that. But yeah, I think Asma has a good point. Like, why use this to like, why did Google? I guess Google used it because Bored Apes obviously the biggest project right now in the space. But yeah, I mean, maybe Google could have done something original, and whereas you have Google's first NFT drop, that's not correlated or related to something that's existing already.
Savage, how are they related to Google themselves? Is like somebody on the team or somebody that like works as an intern at Google like made these? How exactly are they tied into Google?
I think they just used the software.
The Google AI software, right?
I mean, yeah. I didn't read it that close to see if the actual team did it or if someone just used their technology. But they did run 14 million images through it to make these. So I thought that was pretty cool. Here's the entry that I bought.
Gif, what was that reaction there, bro? I heard like a is that the price?
I think I just bought that one you just showed. So I'm sitting here like looking at these. I'm gonna pick up a couple. So like, I mean, okay, it's really fascinating. And
which one?
I'm so ambivalent about this because I simultaneously really, really fuck with and agree with the point that like I'm so over derivatives and I really don't see how most of them hold any value because their value is entirely derived from another project, right? Like they have no inherent value. They can't really sustain a community on their own. Yeah, I just bought that one. Because it looks very similar to our ape. I don't think it is the same one, but I just saw it on the floor and I was like, that's almost exactly like our ape. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about this one. If it is like one of the first or the first project that is like really, really well known, using a major NFT IP, using the new Google AI, maybe it has some kind of historical relevance. Like the art is pretty cool. So it's like, I'm not going to totally sleep on it, but so, like it's cool. I'll collect one or two just to have them. They're interesting. They'll look cool, somewhere, and maybe they'll pop off. Who knows? But I tend to feel like I wish that these tools were being used for more innovative things. And like the derivatives, I think, are just boring, honestly.
My thought on that is we want the technology to take off and get popular. So they're just going to pick the most popular project. And then from here out, they'll probably start doing other ones. But they're trying to, make the news. And if you want the news for Google AI making something, you choose the biggest project. And a lot of them don't even look like monkeys, which is kind of cool.